What if I told you you could make $52,000 a year only working weekends? If you have a 9 to 5, if you're in college, or if you're already working for a landscaping company and want to start something of your own one day, this is for you. In fact, that's actually how I started. I was working weekdays running a separate business while I worked weekends starting my lawn service business. Now I have multiple crews working over 500 properties, and I still run it out of my home. And it all started with a mower, a few flyers, and a weekend. And in this video, I'm going to show you how this works, how simple it really is, what services I'd focus on at the start, and how you can turn your weekends into real money. By the end of this video, you'll know how to look at weekends differently, how to price for profit, and how to create a business that's an asset. Because a lot of people think starting a lawn care or landscaping business means you have to quit your job, go all in, buy a bunch of equipment, and somehow figure everything out at once. You don't. A lot of people don't have the time or money to jump straight into their business full time. When you're just starting out, part-time is actually the more secure way to ensure the success of your business. Using your weekends to start building your client base and business is not only a safer strategy, but it's far more profitable than people think. This gives you time to breathe, take things at your pace, and make smart decisions. You can start with just a mower, a few flyers, a small service area, and a simple goal: make the weekend pay. That's it. And when you look at it that way, the whole thing starts to feel a lot more doable. Most people hear lawn service and immediately think mowing. And yes, mowing absolutely matters. Mowing is a great way to get in the door. It's a great way to build recurring revenue. It's a great way to start learning how to deal with customers and build a route. But if you're only working weekends, mowing alone isn't the only thing you should be thinking about. You should be thinking about landscaping and add-on services, because that's where your numbers can move a whole lot faster. That's where things like mulch installation, edging landscape beds, cleaning up landscape beds, trimming shrubs, and small cleanups start to matter. Those services can turn one Saturday into a really strong day, instead of spending all weekend trying to squeeze in enough small jobs to make the math work. So let's break down the math the way I'd actually look at it. If you're mowing and your average lawn is $50, then you need about 20 lawns over the course of a weekend to make $1,000. That could be 10 on Saturday and 10 on Sunday. So yes, mowing can absolutely get you there, especially if you stay in one neighborhood and build a dense route. But now let's look at landscaping. Let's say you do a Saturday job where you edge the landscape beds, clean the beds up, trim the shrubs, and install mulch. That kind of job adds up quickly. Maybe the edging is somewhere in that $250 to $500 range, depending on the property. Maybe the bed prep and cleanup is another $200 to $300. Maybe the shrub trimming is $250 to $400. And if you're installing 10 yards of mulch at around $120 a yard installed, that's $1,200 right there. Now, all of a sudden, you're not trying to piece together 20 little jobs just to get to your weekend number. One solid landscaping job can get you to that number or get you very close to it in a single day. That's why I want people to think about this the right way. Mowing gives you consistent recurring revenue. Landscaping gives you leverage. And when you combine the two, weekends start to look profitable. You might mow a few recurring customers on one day and then do a landscape project on the other. Or you might do one really solid landscape job on Saturday, then stack a few mowing jobs or smaller add-ons on Sunday. There isn't just one way to do it. The point is to understand the target and build your weekends around that target. That target is simple. Make the weekend worth at least $1,000. Because once you hit that target, you've got proof that you can make weekends pay, and that gives you the momentum to keep going and build a business beyond weekends. That's exactly why I say this is one of the best side hustles out there. And it's also one of the most practical ways to start if you're in one of a few situations. Maybe you've got a normal 9 to 5 and you need extra income, but you also want something that could eventually become your own business. Or you're in college and you want to make money on hours you can control. By the way, this is more than doable. A friend of mine paid his way through college running a landscaping business. Or maybe you already work in the industry and one day you want to go out on your own. Whatever stage you're at, weekends can be your runway to a profitable asset. That's what makes this model so good. It lets you learn while you earn. You get to learn how to quote jobs accurately and profitably, how to market efficiently and effectively, which neighborhoods are the most lucrative to market in, and what that market is really looking for. And you get to do all of that without immediately putting your entire life on the line. Now, One thing that matters a lot here is understanding that you do not need hundreds of clients to get going. A lot of people think they need some giant customer base before they can take themselves seriously. You really don't. You need good customers in a tight area. That's why I always say don't flyer all over town. Don't bounce from one city to another or spread yourself thin and up your costs before you've even had a chance to earn some money. Build within your city, and if you can, start within a 1 square mile radius. That's how I started. In fact, here's a map of the actual area I started in, and I got my first 13 clients in this corner. Then, in my first year, I expanded to cover more of the square mile in my local area. Now I service 83 properties just in this area alone. So this is proof you don't need to travel far to reach more clients. Here's why this is important, especially when you're starting out. First, it makes your weekends more efficient. You're not wasting half your day driving around. Second, it builds familiarity. People start seeing your flyer more than once. They start seeing your truck or your mower or your work in the neighborhood. And third, that's how referrals and visibility actually start to work in your favor. That's how one customer turns into two and two turns into five. If you're just starting out and marketing with flyers, this is something every beginner needs to hear. Not everybody is going to call right away. That doesn't mean the flyer didn't work. Some people are going to be price shopping. Some will be hanging onto the flyer for a later date. Some might call right away or call in a month, and some might already have a servicer they're happy with. That's the nature of marketing. Now let's go back to the original number because this is really the point of the whole video. If you can make $1,000 every weekend, that's $52,000 a year. If you're in a northern market and you can only really work around 6 to 8 months, that's about $26,000 to $30,000 a year. That's still very good money, especially working part-time. And some people are going to hear that and think, yeah, but that's a lot of work. Of course it is. You're building something, but it's also controlled work. It's focused work. It's work that can actually lead somewhere. And that's very different from just picking up random odd jobs and hoping you make a little money here and there. This gives you a structure to build on and a path to follow. And it gives you a business you can start before you ever have to bet everything on it. Then once you figure out how to make $1,000 a weekend, the next step becomes obvious. Watch our video on how to make your first $1,000 and every milestone after that. Mowing is where a lot of people begin. Landscaping is what helps a lot of people grow. So if you're watching this and you've been thinking about starting, or you've been overthinking it, or you've been telling yourself you need more equipment, more time, more money, or the perfect moment, you don't. You need a starting point, a realistic target to hit, a neighborhood to focus on, the essential equipment needed to get it all going, and a weekend. That's it. That's how a lot of real businesses get started. So whether you're working a full-time job, going to school, or just trying to find the smartest way into this industry, this is one of the best ways to do it. Start with mowing or landscaping. Whatever you can do at first. Learn to market yourself. Build a tight route. Keep at it and stay consistent. And then celebrate your new success. And remember, a lot can change with a mower, a few flyers, and a weekend.